Ow, ow, ow.
Too many rollers, D. Too many rollers. Oh my god!
That's it.
Could we just shoot the platforms, please? Could we just fucking... Jesus Christ!
Go! I'm going all the fucking things.
Shit. I bet D was thinking exactly this. We're gonna put platforms that you have to stand on, but we're gonna put the one enemy that knocks you off the platforms. For fuck's sakes! I'm definitely putting this on YouTube now.
Oh my god, this way.
Look at this!
And then we kill more, they pop out more.
Hey, what is up my fellow godlies, this is Vance from Starcom, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Warframe that we teased all the way back at the Warframe God Builds trailer 17. It was a Nezha trailer, but it featured Atlas at the very beginning, then it went to a record rip, and all of a sudden it was Nezha dressed up as Deadpool. Since then, he has been voted on religiously by the crowd to be put in his actual full-length episode of Warframe God Builds. It was only up until the vote between Saren Prime versus Atlas that it was decided that Atlas will have his own episode here at God Builds episode 19. So before we dive head and shoulders deep into the explanation and build for Atlas, I wanted to first take a moment to address something that was initially brought up in Warframe God Builds episode Nyx. There was a comment in that video that stated that video should be called Reasons Why to Chaos Sphere instead of God Builds. The reason why this is untrue is specifically because God Builds are designed to take on any threat the game has to throw at you. They're not specialized builds geared towards a specific something, meaning that specialized builds will probably end up being more proficient than a God Build, considering the fact that they are geared to take on a certain mission, whereas God Builds are geared to take on everything. Now that that's all cleared up, we're probably going to end up doing the same thing with Atlas because there's one thing that he does good, and he does it great. So without wasting any more time, let's go into the reasons why Atlas is great. First of all, I'm going to be showing you the focus lens that I used, specifically because Atlas has a very big problem with energy in the way that we use him. Under the generic lens, you're going to go for energy overflow. That way you can gain more energy at a time. Now if we go back to our build for Atlas, we're going to see the pairing between Energy Siphon and Coaction Drift, which is also going to help with his energy issue. Vitality, Steel Fiber, and Rage are going to contribute to his tankiness, and the Rage is also going to contribute to the energy gain. We're going to try to put on as much power strength as possible by adding Intensify, Transient Fortitude, and Energy Conversion. Now the thing about this mod is that it's very situational depending upon which Warframe you're using. But since we're going to be utilizing a certain technique with Atlas, he's going to be right there in the fray, and he's going to be picking up all the energy orbs that we could ever possibly need. Fleeting Expertise is going to make sure that the energy cost is at a very minimum, while Prime Flow is going to make it so we can store as much energy as possible. One thing that needs addressed about this build is that it's utilizing a certain technique, and that's spamming your first ability. Now some people are probably going to come at me and ask me, well, why aren't you using the Petrify, especially since it has an augment which lets you scan enemies? Well, I don't do that with Atlas, I do that with Vauban, and if you don't have Vauban, then it would be a good choice for you to include that in an alternate build so that you put the augment mod on the Petrify and get some scans in. However, I just don't use that, and it's not in-game worthy. It's not like it kills anything quicker. It helps you a little bit, but if you're going to go that route, I would probably put a Yuneru lens on and bump up the chance that when I melee something, it would turn to stone. That would be very, very useful for Atlas, and it would suit his theme pretty well. You could also run with an Armon lens and make sure that every hit that you do is a crit, which puts him invisible, which would contribute to his survivability. However, I don't use many of these at all. In fact, Tectonics is one of those things that I really only put on an objective or to lock them out of an area when I'm doing a defense mission. It's very situational. I very rarely use it. In the Rumblers, I don't use it all. Quite simply because they're never going to do as much damage as what I do on my own. If only I need to revive a teammate, or I need to get out of a hectic situation and have the enemies concentrate fire elsewhere, this is where Rumblers might come in handy. But for absolutely everything else in the world, Landslide is gonna fit every situation that you need. For secondaries, the only thing I could think to incorporate into this build would be maybe a Staticor and have the secondary equipped while you run around meleeing things. But for most cases, a melee is going to get the job done, and that's why I'm going to run with a Furax Wraith. We're going to put Gaia's Tragedy on, make sure the Life Strike is installed, because Atlas is one of those frames that he's going to take a beating, and he's going to go down pretty quick if you're not watching his health. Put on the Berserker, the Organ Shatter, the Pressure Point, the Body Count, the Blood Rush, the Fever Strike, and the Shocking Touch. And you cannot go wrong. This will do loads of damage, it will do loads of crit, and it'll be a very, very good pairing with the Landslide ability. Now, it should be stated that the Landslide will not scale based upon melee mods, but this is still a good asset to be using along with Landslide. And it suits the theme, so it's aesthetically pleasing as well. Now, in terms of companions, you could really choose whatever Sentinel you wish to put on, as long as you're running with the Animal Instinct and the Meta Ray. I know I've not talked about Animal Instinct for a long time, but it's still very important for seeing loot on the map and also enemies, while the Meta Ray is going to heal a little bit of your health as you're in battle. This is very useful for those situations where you just took a little bit of damage getting to your enemies, trying to landslide them. The Meta Ray will put back pretty much all your health right there and then, and you won't have to worry about life striking and wasting that critical energy that you could put into a landslide. So this pretty much concludes my Atlas build. Before you jump the gun and start to criticize this build for everything that it lacks, go try it and see what you think about it. I think that you're going to be pleasantly surprised. The only thing differently that I could recommend for this build is slapping on a Unaru lens and increasing your armor, or going the alternative route with the Narumon lens and getting invisible every time you crit with your melee weapon. Those would be power combos for Atlas. Surprisingly, you will have a lot of fun with this. You wouldn't think that spamming the same button over and over would be a fun time, but the combos that it does and the way that it sends the enemies flailing, it's just very, very reminiscent of a certain Pokemon I used to know. So I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I enjoyed making the build, and until next time.
Dude, I'm throwing out Clem. Kill them, Clem.
Oh, I got a roller. Kick his ass. My roller kicked their asses.
This is ridiculous. No, fuck you. Alright, get on the platforms, please, please,
I'm
my
on.
god, please.
About to have a stalemate between freaking rollers.
You know, if we all three of us had shade on, this wouldn't be so bad.
Where's Clem?
Dude, Jesus.
I hit
It's
my
about
leg.
fucking time.
God dang.